You struggle at turkey hunting. Trust these 11 tips to help you be a better turkey hunter. All right, number one, especially if you're hunting state land, hunt the hardwoods. Don't hunt the fields, don't hunt the main trails, don't hunt the power lines. Every single hunter is doing that exact thing. They're walking the main trail in, calling the whole entire way to the end, and then they're just turning around and walking back. I would say about 8 out of 10 hunters are doing that when it comes to state land hunting. So if you are on state land, if you have a main trail like I am on now, hunt just off of it, especially if it's a little wooden lot. Rob went out to Virginia this year. I told him to do this exact thing. We started out in the field because it was opening day, and sometimes you can really get lucky with that. But you head to the hardwoods when you are on state land, especially if it's later in the season. That's where these birds feel more comfortable. They know no hunters are in there. So when you are the only hunter in there, you will probably be more successful and wait them out. Hunt the hardwoods and you're gonna find better success versus hunting the fields and hunting the power lines when it comes to state land hunting. I'm in New Jersey and it especially holds true on the East Coast, so give that a shot. I guarantee you'll kill more birds. Tip number 2, know where the birds are going and you are gonna increase your chances insanely. All right, when I say know where they're going, when they're on the roost, which most people think of turkey hunting as hunting them off the roost, and I would say 90% of my birds after 10 a.m. So know where they're going. If they're roosted here, and let's say you've done your homework, you've listened to them in the morning, you went into the woods before the season started, you hear them gobbling, 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 they fly down and they start gobbling off that way. And they do the same thing every day for a week straight before the season. Well, opening day, if they're roosted here and they're going that way, and you sit here and let them fly down and work into you, you're probably going to get them if they're doing the exact same thing. They are creatures of habit, just like most of these animals are, like deer, bear, turkeys, whatever you're hunting. Most of them are creatures of habit. So know where they're going, do your homework prior to the season. Listen to where their roosts are, try a couple different spots 2 weeks out from the season. Every day, if you could, early in the morning, spend a half hour listening to where they are. Get close, but not too close to spook them. And when they fly down, they're going to continue gobbling for normally the first hour of the morning. So once they fly down and they're going into a certain direction, mark it on onX or HuntStand or whatever mapping feature you use. And come opening day, just sit in the direction they're going. Your chances of killing that bird will giantly increase. Number 3, your setup is trash. This is probably the number one reason people that have birds gobbling don't kill birds, right? Your setup's garbage. All right, you set up in a spot and put your decoys in a spot to where if this bird crests a hill and looks, it can't see your decoy, or if it's so thick, they're not gonna come to you. You have to have a good setup. And that is probably one of the simplest things you can fix. Just a quick mindset change, and your birds that you kill every season will just skyrocket, and you will notice that immediately. Right? You get birds going, and you have to just, as soon as you get a gobble, quickly see what's around you. If they're super close, just sit down. All right, you have no choice but just to sit down and let this bird come in and hopefully get a shot at them. If they're within 50 yards already when you call, all right, you're kind of just caught with your pants down and you got to roll with your punches right there. But if you get a bird that's gobbling 100, 200, 300 yards out, you have time to decide whether to move closer or move backwards and pick the perfect setup on how to kill this bird. All right, if you just have a field and you're calling from one side of the field and it's on the other side of the field, you're probably going to want a decoy, because for him to pull across that field is going to be tough. In nature, hens 99% of the time go to the toms. So that's why a lot of times when they hang up, they're just sitting there waiting for you to come, because that's what they're used to with real live hens. So this is where a setup change may be better. If they're across the field, you don't have any decoys, fall back into the hardwoods another 50 yards and just let him come. Call a little less and just make him come to you. Or if you're in the hardwoods already and you have maybe some hills here, and let's say he's a hill away, and you set up in a valley to where he gets to the top of that hill and he looks down into that gully and doesn't see a decoy or a live hen, then he's probably not going to come. He knows something's wrong, especially if they're a mature tom. They've been through a couple turkey seasons and they're not stupid birds. So this is where, if that same scenario, you want to be either with a decoy or close to that ridge, because I'd say 90% of the time when they come up and they have a ridge between you and them, they're going to come to that ridge and just look, and this is what they do. And if there is no ridge and you're thick cover all around you and there's big logs, a lot of the times, most of the times, they will hop up on that log, look around, and try to spot the hen or you that's calling. So this is where your setup comes into play, and this is why I believe most hunters do not kill the bird that they have gobbling coming in, whether they're fired up or barely calling. This is why you have a perfect setup, or at least utilize your surroundings in your area. You're going to kill more birds. Number 4, simply just getting a gobble. Sometimes this is the hardest part of the whole hunt. You need a starting point to go after a bird, and sometimes you need that gobble. Whether you're sitting still or running and gunning, you need a starting point, and that's a gobble. So this is where shot calls and cackling on a mouth call or a slate call come in handy. And in the mornings, I'll use an owl call. Once the day goes on, I still will try an owl call at first, then maybe switch to a crow call, and then I'll just switch to cackling. And normally if I'm just walking a logging road or just walking the hardwoods trying to get a gobble and I'm just calling blindly, I will throw in cackles every now and then, and that's normally what you shock them on. So when I say cackle, this is what I'm talking about. I'm going to do a little yelp sequence and then a cackle, just a whole sequence for you, this quick rapid succession of clucks and cackles. Let me just show you. That last bit there was a cackle. That excited hen yelps, excited clucks, that's what you're trying to do to get that gobble if you're not using an owl call or a crow call. And you can use the tool for an owl call or a crow call, or you can learn it on your mouth. The owl, I think, is much better coming from your person. Once you master it, it's going to take some time. I spent a whole day trying to learn this call, and it's honestly one of the most utilized calls I use in the morning now if I'm trying to get them to gobble off the roost or just trying to locate them. And this is the owl call. You do that in the morning or even just in the middle of the day, that loud noise is what's going to get them to gobble. And shot calls, you can use an air horn. Sometimes they gobble to your car door shutting. It's loud noises. That's really what a shot call is. That excited hen yelp, that's what's getting them to gobble. So just finding that gobble is going to be one of the hardest things sometimes. Sometimes they only gobble once and they come in and that's all they're doing. They're going silent. So just utilize your shot calls, utilize your calling in general to find that gobble to have a starting point to go off of. Number 5, leave them hanging. When I say leave them hanging, this is within your calling sequence. A lot of guys like me, this is one of my biggest issues because I'm a hunter. I like hearing them call. I like hearing them gobble back to my calling. So this is where I normally get carried away when they're gobbling, and I just keep calling back. And the toms are waiting for me to go to them, and I'm waiting for him to go to me. So in certain situations, you want to get aggressive, but leaving them hanging kills more birds than anything else. Call, you get him to gobble. You set up, call again, he gobbles right away. That bird's probably coming. If he's cutting you off mid-sequence, meaning yelp, 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 blue, yelp, yelp, blue, he's fired up, he's probably coming in. Versus if you yep, 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 nothing, yep, 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 blue. Okay, he's going to be a little bit tougher of a bird to kill. This is where you shut up, you pique his curiosity, and eventually he'll come in. It might not be within the 5 minutes or come running in, but it could be within an hour or 2 hours from now. So just be patient there and leave him hanging. You have a bird fired up. A lot of times now that I've learned, I get them fired up quick once I get them to gobble, and then I just shut up. I don't say another word for like 10 minutes, and then maybe I'll do a little quick cluck sequence or a yelp sequence, a couple purrs, and then just to see where he is in like accordance to me. And if I know he's cutting the distance, if that first couple gobbles I had him at like 100 yards, and then I call again, he's at 50 and he's closer, then I know he's coming. Or versus 300 yards and now he's 150, then I know he's coming. I'm just going to shut up and let him keep coming to me. So just leave them hanging and you're going to kill more birds than anything else. Number 6, and this is kind of an underlooked one, but knowing what stage these toms are in when you are hunting. Obviously early in the season, not a lot of breeding has been going on yet. So there aren't any poults. They're really not henned up yet, especially in certain states where it opens really early, where there's still snowfall. But knowing what stage they're in. So early in the season, not a lot of henned up birds. They're still trying to mate. And then middle of the season, you get some henned up birds. You get some birds that are beat up. You have some satellite birds. And then later in the season, you have a lot of hens with poults. And a lot of the times the toms will disperse away from the hens and the hens will go off with their poults. So knowing what sequence you're in can really help you out in small ways, because early in the season, you can use a tom decoy. You can use a lot of Jake decoys, to where later in the season, you run the risk of spooking the bird that you have coming in if it comes in and sees a full tom. Maybe he's a satellite bird he's already got beat the crap out of, and he doesn't want to look for another fight, so now he's running away. So this is where little things like that can really increase your chances of killing a bird. This is why later in the season, a lot of times I'll use just a hen or maybe 2 or 3 hen decoys, versus in the beginning of the season where I'm always using a tom and a hen and a Jake, depending if I'm running and gunning or sitting in one spot all day. So knowing what stage they're in, knowing where you can get more excited in your calling versus being more quiet later in the season. You probably don't want to call as much versus at the beginning of the season, being they've probably already heard multiple hunters come through the woods and just yap, 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 yap. Sound unrealistic, and they just learned from that quick little experience they had with a hunter that messed it up. So this is where early in the season you can be a lot more vocal versus later in the season where you want to be more quiet, more submissive on that hen, and just yep, yep, and do a lot more clucks and purrs, and that'll pull them in later in the season. So just knowing what stage they're in, and maybe just look at some forums online, or maybe just do some research when they are in certain stages of that spring mating season. You can utilize that to your advantage at any point. Number 7, the 1-2 punch. 1-2 punch involves 2 people, 2 hunters, and for me, this is when I first started hunting. This is like the only way I've hunted. People calling for me, especially youth season. The 1-2 punch is basically you have the hunter, the shooter, up front, and then you have the caller another 50, 60, even 100 yards behind you. So let's say the bird's gobbling here, and you are calling here. You put that shooter right in the middle, and it's going to pull that bird into the shooter well before it gets anywhere near the calling. So normally when a bird hangs up, it will hang up 70, 80, 100 yards away. So you put that shooter there where it's supposed to hang up, and it's going to get that kill off. So that's just one little tactic you can use. That's honestly one of the best ways to kill a turkey. You do the 1-2 punch, you'll kill more birds. And if you don't have any friends, find a friend to call for you. And if you don't have any good friends that call, make some new friends. Number 8, less is often more. This ties back into one of my last tips. Less is more in your calling. And this is also going to contradict with number 9. So I'll probably just include both of them in get aggressive. So 8, less is often more. 9, sometimes get aggressive. So when I say less is more, again, like the last time I explained, later in the season, they're used to a lot of calling. They've already mated a couple birds maybe, and they're more, I don't want to say scared, but they're more cautious. They are more cautious coming into calling. So maybe they've already came into a set and a hunter missed. They're not really want to come in. And a lot of times, the wild natural hens aren't just walking around the woods. Yap, 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 yap. I have heard many birds do that once it gets started. So that's why when I'm walking around the woods, no matter where I am, my first set is often light. And I'll just do this quick for you, just so you get a little understanding. So if I'm walking right now, and this is my first walk into the woods, later in the season, this is how I start the sequence. And even that is a little too aggressive to start, but you want to keep your volume low to start. So if I get to here and I'm calling, I'll start that low, wait about a minute, 2 minutes, and then get louder. Then I'll really start hammering, trying to get a gobble to go. And if I get nothing, then I'll move up another 100 yards and try again. But if they are close, and you run the risk of that a lot of times, you want to start low. If they are close, they'll hammer and you sit down and they're coming. So I'll do that, and then I'll normally go to this. So that's some yelps with some cackles thrown in, some clucks thrown in. And when you're trying to get really loud, purrs on a wild hen are not loud. So I really don't try and purr when I'm trying to get louder, just to get a gobble going. And that's where I'll go. But when I say less is more, I kind of got away from that topic there. Once they're coming in, try and shut up. If they're coming, purrs and clucks. You don't really want to yelp as much if you know they're coming. And then when I say less is more, sometimes don't even call. And just, if you have leaves by you, just do one of these. Like a hen scratching in the leaves, just do it in the cadence. Watch a video on how a hen feeds, how turkeys feed in general. And sometimes just the sound of them leaves scraping, because turkeys are loud animals normally. They yelp, they gobble, they're always feeding. They're just like a chicken. If you ever have chickens, you know what I'm talking about. They scratch in the leaves looking for little bugs, ants, and little stuff like that to eat all the time. So sometimes if you're in thick cover, you throw some scratches in them leaves and they're gonna come in, and that's all you need. And then tying into number 9, getting more aggressive. I had a hunt this year with Rob in New York, to where I was calling, he was hunting, and we had a bad setup the way we were. We were on the edge of state land. We had private land off to the side, and we wanted to get into state land enough to where we felt comfortable not being anywhere near the safety zone and pulling these birds in, but also having a great opportunity at killing a bird. So we set up, and something happened that spooked the birds, and they all stopped gobbling. I had them hammering and they stopped gobbling. They were probably 200 yards away. I had a hen move in from the right side and just start cackling, just yap, yap, yap. And then it ended up like an hour later pulling in all the toms to our left. We couldn't move. They were within 30 yards. We couldn't move. It was so thick. And then this bird works off with 2 hens. We had to get aggressive. I quickly walked up. Once that bird got out of sight 100 yards away, I walked up, grabbed the fan off my decoy. And in some states, this is illegal, so definitely look into your state laws. But we were not stalking these birds. We went in the same direction that they were in, trying to set up going around them, because I know they were just moving slow. He was in full strut the whole time, so I know he wasn't far. I ended up seeing his fan about 50 yards away, and I ended up just kind of taking the fan. And a lot of times, this is where the most incidents happen in turkey hunting, so just be careful with this. But when I say get aggressive, you don't need to go to this extent. When I mean get aggressive, I just mean what you're calling in general, to where yap, yap, blah, blah, blah. And then he's nothing, nothing, nothing. And then sometimes yap, yap, blah, blah. I'll go yap, 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 blah, yap, 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 and just really get him going real quick, get him fired up. And a lot of times that'll pull him in. When you get fired up, and I mean like this, when I do this, this is a gobble. This is what I'm talking about. And then you shut up, that bird's coming. 90% of the time that bird's coming, and you can just work them from there. So sometimes you can get really aggressive, and that will help out in your favor. Just give it a shot. Don't do it all the time. Less is often more. When I say get aggressive in the beginning, and then just shut up, less is more. Start scratching, purring, clucks. That's the final kill zone. You really don't want to yelp that much when they're in the final kill zone within 50 yards, and that'll kill most birds. Purrs, clucks, scratching in the leaves. Kill zone. Number 10, mimic the hen. If you call in a hen, and a lot of times throughout a turkey season, if you turkey hunted enough, you've called in hens before. If you have a tom in the area gobbling his head off, and you pull a hen in first, and that hen starts yelping, starts clucking, starts purring, mimic her. It will make her mad. The tom will think there's 2 hens in the area now. Now you have a live decoy. This is one of the best setups. As long as you don't spook that hen and she stays in the area and doesn't go to the tom, then you are golden. So again, same hunt. That hen comes in, starts just yap, 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 yap. And I go yap, 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 yap. She purrs, she clucks, and I'm just matching her for 40 minutes. Herd just yap, 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 yap. Matched her, got these birds fired back up, pulled these toms in, and we were able to kill the one bird. So mimicking the hen can be a massive advantage, and this does not happen in a normal turkey hunt or often while turkey hunting, but if this does happen, keep that little trick in the back of your mind. Mimic her if you have the tom gobbling off in the distance. That'll kill you that bird. All right, and then finally, number 11, just your cadence and your calls. This is wrapping it up. I wanted to give all them tips for people that always turkey hunt or have turkey hunted before and they already know how to call. But if you don't know how to call, I'm gonna throw this in at the back end of the video. If you're watching this far, thank you for watching. I'll put out more videos on how to call and certain calls to use when. But let me just throw your cadence and the calls you should be using, and you can look at other videos to really go into depth. But when I say your cadence, this is what I'm talking about. The rhythm of your yelps or just calls in general. So a lot of people, if I'm in state land and I hear other people calling and they sound like garbage, this is why. This does not sound like a turkey. Your cadence. You want to go yap, 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 yap. Watch some videos from Wild Hens on how they sound and just mimic that. Some people are going way too quick or way too slow, because this also doesn't sound like a turkey. It sounds like garbage. You will get single yelps in there. I will use a single yelp in my calling sequences, but that sounds more like this. Just do some homework on how wild turkeys sound. Watch some videos on them calling, and then just literally have YouTube up with your call, whether it's a mouse call or a slate call or a box call, and just match them. If they're yelping, match their yelps. If they're purring, try and match their purrs. If they're clucking, match their clucks. That's one of your best ways you can learn. Watching actual turkeys call and learning from actual turkeys. Don't listen from your buddy that only has killed one bird in the past 5 years. Watch YouTube, watch actual birds, and just utilize that information. As far as the calls that I use and that I think are the only calls you need when it comes to turkey calls, your yelp, your purr, your cluck, and your cackle. You don't need to really learn the kiki run unless you're fall turkey hunting, and then even then, it's really a call that just gets pushed out there to, I don't even know why. You need to learn your yelp, and you can kill birds with just your yelp, and that's it. Learn the purr, learn the cluck, and you're going to kill way more birds. You get your cackle down, whether it's in the morning, the fly down cackle, or just an excited hen yelp, you're going to kill a lot of birds just doing that. So yelp, purr, cluck, cackle, that's all you need. And if you want to get your shot calls, owl call, crow call, and then that's really it. As far as other types of calls, if you hunt in an area that always rains a lot, it's spring, it always does rain a lot normally. If you're using a slate call, that does not work really at all if it gets wet. I really leave that in my pack if I know it's raining, and I just go right to the mouth call. You want to have a glass call for when it's windy, it gets really loud out there, and then you just always need a mouth call for when they're close, and I could get really loud on it. Some people can't, but that's the calls that I would stick to. So hopefully these tips and tactics will help you kill more birds next year. If you like this video and you like this style of video, just drop a comment down below, like this video, share it with your friends that also have struggled in the past turkey hunting. So thank you guys for watching. I'm Mike with Obviously Outdoorsman. Stay stealthy. New t-shirts out, Obviously Outdoorsman. If you like this t-shirt and you're interested in it, just comment on this video below. Shoot me an email, obviously@outdoorsman@gmail.com. We don't have our website up and running yet. So if you want it and you really want it, stay stealthy. Just shoot me an email and I'll get one over to you. So that's it, guys. I'm Mike with Obviously Outdoorsman. Thanks for watching. Good luck turkey hunting next season. Peace.